Welcome to This is Getting Old, Moving Towards an Age-Friendly World. I'm your host, Melissa Batchelor, and today we're going to be talking about 5 secrets to successful aging. And I'm joined by Bob and Fran German. So welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us, Melissa.
Yeah, so before we get started, I'll just let the two of you introduce yourselves, and then we'll dive into the 5 secrets to successful aging.
Great. I'm Fran, and this is Bob. And we are both 81 years old. Well, Bob's almost 81. He's 3 months younger than me. I married a younger man.
So my birthday's coming up, and if you'd like to send me a present, well, that would be great. So we're healthy aging advocates. We're also authors and speakers. And our goal in life is to die young as late as possible. And so our mission is to get people to come on this journey with us. And over time, especially after we both had devastating, life-threatening illnesses, we changed our lifestyle to a much more healthy one. And now every day is better than the next. And we're living a full and happy life in the third of our lives, which I think is just great. So we don't miss out on anything.
That's great. I actually used your line, the third, in another lecture that I did yesterday with a group from Georgetown. So maybe let's talk a little bit about kind of what your lifestyle looked before and kind of how it led to the chronic illness. And then we can talk about what you changed, or at least 5 things that you changed.
Okay,
Sure.
Let me begin. In 1992, when I was 52 years old, I was diagnosed with a very serious autoimmune disease called Myasthenia Gravis. Now, I know most people have heard of lupus and MS, but Myasthenia Gravis isn't that well known. I was told that I would never get better, that I would be on medication for the rest of my life, and that that my lifespan would be shortened. Well, being a stubborn person, I didn't take that sitting down, and I did everything I could to improve my health.
I'd like to mention that when Fran got this diagnosis, and myasthenia gravis means
severe muscle weakness.
Yeah.
Couldn't be better named.
So she had this terrible muscle weakness throughout her body. And we actually went to 11 different neurologists to try to find a way that she could be cured of this incurable disease. And every doctor gave her that same pitch. She'd never get better, always on meds.
Just more different kinds of medications that didn't really make a difference. But I was stubborn and I wanted to find a way to get better. So I took really good care of myself, I thought. I was taking high quality supplements. I was walking every morning when I was stronger in the morning. I thought I was eating really healthy, white meat chicken, white meat turkey, fish. Thought I was doing all the right things, but nothing seemed to really help. There were times when I couldn't see. My vision was so double that it was horrible. And I was just so weak. There were times when I couldn't talk. My weight, I lost a lot of weight because I really couldn't eat. And it got pretty bad. I wound up in ICU at one time for 5 days. And it was very, very, depressing, but I knew that there had to be a way to get better. Then one day, they say when the student's ready, the teacher will appear. I went to a meeting, a support group meeting, and they had a clinical nutritionist come to speak. This was here in Hendersonville, North Carolina, a small town. And this doctor came from Asheville, and he explained with a slide presentation that even something as harmless as white meat chicken compromises the immune system. And he recommended going on a whole food plant-based diet. He recommended reading the China study by T. Colin Campbell and Diet for a New America by John Robbins. I immediately went, got both books, read them cover to cover, and changed to a whole food plant-based diet. Cut out all animal products. And within a short period of time, I was off all medication and I was symptom-free. And it's now 15 years later. And this incurable disease that was going to shorten my life hasn't reared its ugly head again. Now, about this time, Bob was also experiencing a problem, and he'll tell you what his was.
Yeah, I always try to keep my body in good shape. I'm slim, and I enjoyed walking and running and keeping fit. I was walking, I was doing some power walking or race walking with a group of young women who were trying out for the Olympic Games. So they were really good at this. And it was a very exaggerated walking thing. And I started to develop a discomfort in my groin. And I went to a urologist and he checked me out and he said, you know, I just can't find any problem down there. But let's do, because he knew I was pretty fit and I didn't go to the doctors very, very often. He said, let's do an MRI and, or a CAT scan, I should say. So we did a CAT scan. He called me back in a couple of days and he said, I checked everything out there. Your groin, you might've pulled a muscle down there, but that's not the problem. Take a look at this. And he showed me on the screen that I had this tumor on the left side, on the outside of my left kidney. And he said, you need to get this off as quick as you can. And I'm not capable of doing it. So I went to the Duke University Medical Center and I had it removed. And the doctor did tell me that it was a cancerous growth. So this is called kidney cancer, renal cell carcinoma. So on the ride home back to our little town in the mountains, we said, we have to change our life here. We can't just say, we're gonna just continue. So we agreed, I joined on Fran's bandwagon to eat a more healthy diet, less meat, less seafood, less dairy products. And then eventually we cut all of those things out, less processed foods and so on.
But one thing the doctor had mentioned was, even though he got the tumor, he said this type of cancer is known to return.
Yeah.
So that's what spurred us on too.
That was worrisome. So that also was an impetus for us to change. But not only did we change our eating habits, but we changed our sleep habits, and we tried our best to come up with techniques to lower stress, which is often a precursor to illness. And we did a different type of exercise regimen, and we also learned some techniques on energy, building the energy and strengthening your energy. So now here we are in our 80s, and honestly, we feel better than we ever have in our life. We do have endless energy. We have every day is fun, and so that's sort of our story. Maybe a little longer than you wanted to hear, but
we didn't realize how much energy we had until the other day when our granddaughter, who's a senior in college on a soccer team, came to visit, and we hiked up a mountain. And then we came back and had breakfast. She took a nap and we were still going. So we figured, okay, we got more energy than our 22-year-old granddaughter.
She said, you do this every day? And I said, yeah. And actually we live in Western North Carolina. So instead of going on a treadmill, we walk up a mountain every morning.
Right.
And it's just been a wonderful thing, especially at our advanced age, so to speak. But that's our story. And
we're sticking to it.
Yeah, and we would love people. We're so pleased that Melissa invited us onto her show because I know she has a large audience. And if we want, she's helping us spread the word about healthy aging. And we appreciate that. We welcome you to join us on this journey.
Yes, I mean, I think a lot of the things, I just had a conversation with another colleague talking about reframing aging. And so I think that hearing stories about, people being successful with aging, or even getting to kind of midlife and saying, I need to make an adjustment here. I think that's helpful for people to know, because ageism is kind of accepting that aging means decline and, frailty and disability. And because you guys didn't really have that same mindset, you made changes that have extended your lifespan. And when people don't kind of have that mindset, ageism itself, like your own self-imposed beliefs about aging, can actually shorten your lifespan for an average of like 7 years. So aging, how we think about aging impacts how well we're going to age. And so you guys have a book out called 101 Ways to Be Young at Any Age. And we mentioned 5 of those, but let's do a little bit deeper dive into our 5 secrets to successful aging. And so what would you say is your number one recommendation?
As you can probably guess by now, after what I've said, that the number one is eat like your life depends on it, because it does. We believe that we should use the power of food to make the right food choices. And of course, we would love everybody to go on a whole food plant-based diet, but we realize that that isn't very likely. But we encourage people to increase the amount of whole foods that they consume and reduce the amount of processed foods and animal products. Not only is it good for people, but it's obviously very good for the planet. And so that's our number one thing, to eat like your life depends on it.
Yeah.
We
It's not
say,
gonna
that getting older has to be getting sicker.
right. And we say, every bite of food that you take either feeds illness or fights it.
I believe that in most cases, people take better care of their automobile than they do of their body.
Yeah.
They're really careful about what they put into their car, but what they put into their mouth is much more important.
Right. And I remember as a kid, either watching Sesame Street or Electric Company, where they explained, the best foods for you are foods that come in their own wrapper. And so, I think having that image of, that's the whole food. I know a banana comes in its own wrapper, an orange comes in its own wrapper. And if it doesn't come in its own wrapper, then it's a processed food. And I think that sometimes we can use those words and people may or may not fully understand what we're saying. But as a 4-year-old, I understood, that foods that came in their own wrapper were better for me. So then what's your number 2 secret to successful aging?
Well, number 2, we would say, is to keep moving. So sitting, you might have heard this phrase, sitting is the new smoking.
Mm-hmm.
Too many people don't get out of that sofa. They watch TV way too much. And we say that you have to get off your butt, B-U-T-T, and your butts, B-U-T-S. But meaning, well, I can't do this. I can't get up so early. I'm too lazy. You have to change your mindset on exercise and do exercise every day, preferably in the morning, sort of get it out of the way. And we advocate even designing a little regimen that we call the hour of power. So every morning, this would include some easy stretching, some aerobic exercise like walking, briskly walking for maybe 20 to 30 minutes. And if you can't do that much, at least do 5 minutes and then try to increase daily. But we say moving is something that is so important, not only to your physical well-being, but also to your emotional well-being. Getting out, trying to walk in nature, especially if you can, it's really healthy for you.
But if by chance you can't, for some physical reason, chair exercises are so good for you. And there's so many. We have actually have a YouTube on doing exercises sitting in a chair.
Right.
Yeah. And actually, if you did, yeah, 6 sessions of 5 minutes every day, just over time, that gets you your 30 minutes. It's just as effective as doing 30 minutes at the time. So you can do 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just do it a couple of times a day. But I can even tell you, like from my grandmother, I'm here helping my parents. I'm in we got a new background today. My grandmother is 91, was in a nursing home for a year and a half during COVID, and was basically locked in a 6x6 room with every other resident, with 1.5 million Americans, for the entire pandemic. And they just took her out of the nursing home about 6 weeks ago. And when she got here 6 weeks ago, so she came here the third week that she was out, she could not stand on her own, could not pick her feet up. And we had to she was a dead lift, to move her around. Then she went back to my uncle's house for 2 weeks, and she's back today, or back this week. She can stand and support her own weight. She can pick her feet up and do a little shuffle. She can hold her legs out while we're wheeling her around. So it's never too late. You're never too old. And I told my mom, I was like, because we're working with her and she's motivated to stay home, she's doing the work and she's motivated to exercise. And I was like, she could end up walking again. Like, I mean, our bodies have that much resilience. But you're right that we definitely need to keep moving. And it doesn't have to be, training and running for marathons, but it has to be natural movement. In fact, that's part of the blue zones. I don't know if you guys have heard of those, but that's like their number one principle, which I was like, oh, thank God, I don't have to be like worried that I'm not out, running every day. But you do have to move. So, what is your success tip number 3?
Success tip number 3 would be to do anything possible to reduce the stress levels that you may be experiencing. So to us, that means considering taking on some sort of a mindfulness practice. So mindfulness means, in short, that your mind is on the present moment. It's focused on the attention of what you are doing right now. And too many times our mind drifts away. It drifts into the past, where we think about things that have happened that aggravates us or gets us angry, or we think about things in the future that we worry about. And most of the things that we worry about never come about.
Never happen.
But that's the human nature. So we think about the past, we think about the future, but we think, and those are stressors. Anger, worry, they immobilize you and they stress you out. Very unhealthy. So the answer, in our opinion, may be to take on a meditation every day. And you can call it meditation or just sitting quietly for 5 to 10 minutes, a couple times a day, or at least once a day, and just focus on your breath. Just breathe easily. You can sit in a comfortable place. No electronics, no TVs going. Just sit in a quiet room and relax your body and clear your mind. It will do wonders for you and lower your stress.
And they have found that stress is a component in almost every illness. So it's really important to reduce.
And moving and eating well helps to do that as well. Yes. And so successful tip number 4.
Number 4, this is a little weird, a little different. You won't hear this very often, but we suggest, in order to keep yourself energized, and we advocate learning a Chinese system, an ancient Chinese system of wellness called Qigong. That's Qigong. You can Google it, or you can go to our YouTube channel where we have maybe 40 different Qigong lessons that you can follow along. But if you've seen some of the TV commercials where they do Tai Chi, well, this is very similar to Tai Chi, but it's easy because you just follow. There's nothing to memorize. But what it does, and it's very simple, anybody could do it, and you can do it either sitting or standing, simple movements that help energize you and lower stress at the same time. So give it a try. I think you'll enjoy it. It's a part of our daily routine. It's like we can't go through a day without doing a little Qigong, and it just keeps we literally have endless energy. Qigong is your number 4.
Okay. And so what is the name of your YouTube channel? Because you've mentioned that a couple of times. So just want.
Thank you. It's called Young at Any Age. And
Okay.
we're told by some important people at YouTube that we may be among the oldest, newest YouTubers ever. So we welcome you to our channel. It's called Young at Any Age, or you can go into YouTube and search for our names, just Bob and Fran. And we offer a whole bunch of YouTube videos to help in your healthy aging journey.
Yep. And don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell so that you can get notifications when you post new content.
Is kind enough to put a link to our, not only the book, which I'll flash you our book so it looks something like that. That's really not our picture,
But it looks like us.
Yeah. So our book and our YouTube channel, there'll be a link in the description, and we thank Melissa for doing that for us.
Yep, that and it'll be on my website.
Excellent, thank you. And one last tip that we're going to offer for you is,
This one might surprise you. It's make sleep a priority. It's often said that as you get older, you don't need as much sleep, but that's really not true. It's really beneficial to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep each night, because this is when your cells regenerate, and it helps your mood, your mental sharpness, your physical well-being. And your bedroom should be used only for 2 things: sleep or sex. It should be dark, cool, quiet, and please no TV or computers in the bedroom. And of course, it's advisable to avoid things that would prevent you from sleeping, like caffeine or alcohol or sugary foods before bedtime.
Yep. And so in my world, we call that sleep hygiene.
Yes,
oh, I love it. I love it.
Yeah. So, and that's exactly what we tell people as well. So, all right. Well, so we mentioned a couple of different ways that people can get in touch with you. You have your YouTube channel that's called Young at Any Age.
Young at Any Age.
Okay. And then your book, 101 Ways to Be Young at Any Age. And then your website.
bobandfran.com.
Yep. And to email you.
It's bobandfran@gmail.com.
Right. So that's BOB, the letter N, and then FRAN
Sure.
at Gmail. And then let's talk a little bit about this ACT project.
Yes, all the proceeds from our book go to a project, we call it ACT, ACT, which is an acronym for Abolish Child Trafficking. So in our lives, we spent a period of 9 years in Southeast Asia, primarily in Thailand. And while we love the culture there and the food and so on, it's very exotic. Child trafficking is a very important and negative part of what's going on there. So we got immersed in that challenge, and we're still involved in raising awareness about child trafficking. And that's international. It can be in our backyard, our hometowns and cities, and it can be all over the world. And so our solution to the trafficking problem is preventing the trafficking by enriching the small villages in which these vulnerable girls live. So we build schools, we provide medical needs for them, and we give them hope.
So that's great to know. that, all the proceeds that from any book that's purchased, it's a 2-for-1 benefit. You're going to learn 101 ways to be young at any age, and all proceeds go to help the ACT project with stopping child trafficking. And, I think it's awesome that you're the oldest, newest YouTubers, because that's also speaks to not only lifelong learning, but being an early adopter and using technology to amplify your message that, you can be healthy and young at any age. So again, I appreciate the work that you guys do and the messages that you are putting out in the world that are positive, and because you can age well. It just depends on if you're willing to do the work. Because it is against the grain. It's against our culture. It's against beliefs.
So many people say, well, it's in my genes. My mother, they had this, my father had this. Well, only 5 to 10% of what happens to us is in our genes. And even those can be rewired with proper diet.
There's many natural, healthful ways that can cure people. So,
or prevent
right.
illness.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know that that's necessary, like an individual profession or an individual person. I think sometimes it's our healthcare system in general, and we have an illness-based healthcare system, and there are a ton of people that go to a provider, either a nurse practitioner or a physician, and they want the pill. And I can't tell you the number of people that I've said, this is only going to get better if you make the lifestyle changes that you need to make, and we've talked about several of those ourselves. And there you can see them kind of like say, no, I just wanted the pill. And, and if I love, I don't know if you guys have seen Forks Over Knives,
Oh, yeah.
but that, and it's like, what, to tell someone to change their lifestyle, they're like, that's so radical. But you're willing to develop heart disease and have to have someone crack your chest open and take a vein, out, and take one out of your leg, and no one thinks that that's radical. It's like unbelievable.
Yeah.
I wanted to say we are featured in the this month's issue of Forks Over Knives magazine on page 13.
Oh, I have to get a copy of that
story on us, and I think Fran went.
And I can say I knew you. I know those guys.
There we are.
That is great. I'm going to go out and get a copy, and definitely we'll put a link in to that as well.
Good, thank you.
I wanted to just.
And you guys are the celebrities, not me, by the way.
But people need role models. I don't call myself a role model, but people need to meet and see people that are living this. It's not just talk. We walk the talk. And so
right.
We are making ourselves available to you or any of your colleagues that may want to do an interview with us like this, or appear with them on a panel or something like that, just to advocate for this healthy lifestyle that we live. And if we can be a part of that, your whole movement, we'd be more than happy. I mean, this is what our life
right.
is. Our mission is very similar to yours. So if you can get us involved, pass our names on to people or contact information, we'd appreciate it.
So I thank both of you for being with me today on the show and sharing these 5 tips for successful aging. Any final comments before we close out?
No, we just want to thank you again. We appreciate all the work you do. It's like you're a secret gem, and we're learning more and more about your skills and how you advocate for people of advanced age. And the tools you offer they're amazing and in line with how we live our lives. So we want to thank you for that. And we appreciate this opportunity to be on your website and your YouTube channel. So thank you for that very much.
All right. Well, I appreciate both of you being with me and for being an example of a lot of the stuff that I talk about, and you've put those things into practice, and it's benefited both of your lives. So I appreciate you being here with me today as well. Thank you for tuning in to This is Getting Old, Moving Towards an Age-Friendly World. I'm your host, Melissa Batchelor, and if you'd like to learn more, you can check out my other episodes on my YouTube channel by subscribing and ringing the bell to get immediate notifications when new content comes out. In addition, you can also find the audio version of the podcast on Amazon Music, Spotify, iTunes, and Stitcher. Please feel free to leave an honest review because more reviews mean more awareness of the podcast. If you have a comment or a question, you can visit my website, melissabphd.com. Go to the Contact Melissa tab, and you can leave me a voice message. You never know, it might just include your question or your comment in an upcoming episode.